Mark, we can't hear you. You got to turn. You got.
So that was fun. That I did a panel discussion, and the panel discussion was very enriching. So we had a great conversation with the panel discussion, and definitely enjoyed it. Talked about everything from gentrification, one of Adam's favorite topics, to talking about a number of other topics as well. We even talked about some of the political things going on, and we talked about unity, because apparently today is Umoja, which stands for unity, and all along those lines, if you follow the principles of Kwanzaa and all along those lines. So I'm gonna bring in the other folks. I'll bring in Adam Lambarello. He is a man of much wisdom and much knowledge and all along those lines. So definitely, if you will, Nick, bring in Adam Lambarello, and we'll find out what he knows about what's going on, because I just heard somebody doing African proverbs and all in that space. And like I said, my friend Atiba Rory is actually at about 5:30 going to have his group performing Africa Unplugged, which is a very popular group, and all along those lines. And I know there's probably going to be some conversation around Russia, since there's a number of things happening in that space as well. So even when I'm at work at HI, I can manage to do these things. And of course, Pod TV is a very important part of what goes on in our world and all along those lines. So Adam, do you know anything about Kwanzaa? Is there Kwanzaa in New Jersey? Is there Kwanzaa in Georgia and a number of the other places? And by the way, Adam, you will be glad to know this. I was actually talking to my cousin. We were talking about police and everything, because he is a GBI officer, and I know that you're in Georgia as well. So he was actually telling me that Kamala was not the greatest person, because apparently they went and he was working Kamala's detail during the Celebration Bowl, which is the African American Championship game, and it was between Howard and Florida and A&M, and apparently FAMU killed Howard and definitely beat them pretty handily and everything. But apparently she was going to come and give a pep talk, but since Howard, her alumni school, did not win, she didn't go down there and give a pep talk. She just kind of like jetted. She was not all that nice, but he was working Kamala's detail and everything. But I guess Kamala was like, my team didn't win, so I'm going to jet, and all along those lines. So he just was not sticking around. And you'll also be interested to know, Adam, that part of our conversation was around politics, and we were thinking that maybe they need to get rid of Kamala as vice president and have Gavin Newsom, since Gavin Newsom is much younger, as the vice president. And then it could be the Biden-Gavin Newsom ticket, which might be a stronger ticket than the Biden-Kamala ticket. So any thoughts around that, or any thoughts around definitely even Kamala apparently making a quick exit in that space? But like I said, my cousin has got some surgeries, and then he may be retiring from the GBI, and he's had a long career there, enjoys the work, but he may decide to go work as a police trainer, like at the academy, and there's one in Nash County, or he may decide to go to work for Delta in customer service, because you can do that remotely. But definitely he's looking at the possibility of stepping down in the next year or two, depending on how the surgery goes. But he's totally enjoyed his work in law enforcement. We were actually talking about a friend of mine who is not pro-police, because he remembered the Ferguson case and the famous case with Mr. Brown, and also the more recent case in Missouri where a group of Black officers beat up on a gentleman as well. So he was talking about how a mutual friend of ours was not the biggest fan of law enforcement, but of course he's in law enforcement, so he wasn't that big of a fan of that particular fan of mine, and all along those lines. But Adam, any thoughts around some of these points? And of course we'll get to you and Sasha debating about Russia and everything. But yeah, I'm coming at y'all from the Hayti Heritage Center, and like I said, that's what the background noise is in the background. But definitely, any thoughts about some of these points?
Sure. First, I want to wish Merry Christmas to everyone out there, and a Happy New Year to everyone. I hope everyone's doing wonderful. And I include in that a Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to Vladimir Putin, of course. Law enforcement, I praise law enforcement, and I thank law enforcement for everything they do to protect our communities. The truth of the matter is that of all the interactions between whites and blacks in law enforcement, only a small fraction result in violence. And in fact, black officers use force against black suspects at a rate equal to or in excess of white officers. And Michael Ferguson was shot because he was attacking an officer, and the use of force was justified. So I want to say happy holidays to our law enforcement. Happy holidays to everybody out there of all races and backgrounds. And most importantly, to the United States of America, which through its division needs to really start healing itself to get back to the values that made it great and will make it great again.
Yep, I hear you. And you'll be glad to know, as we'll lead Newton Road, that one of the principles of Kwanzaa is actually faith. So faith is actually included
And
as
happy
one of the
Kwanzaa
9
to
principles.
all African Americans too, certainly.
Yep. So faith is definitely one of those holidays. I'm gonna bring in Sasha, or maybe Nick will bring in Sasha. I'm gonna leave y'all to the wonders of this discussion and all along those lines, because I know y'all are gonna get into Russian. I may try to jump on, but I just want to bring in at least that intro.
Sasha, I wish you happy holidays too, reluctantly.
Hey, you know, it's Boxers Day there in Canada, so they are actually celebrating Boxer Day there in Canada.
Leave it to Mark to know all of the special holidays going on. Mark, you do a fabulous job. I appreciate it. And Merry Christmas to everyone near and far. It's been quite an interesting holiday season with wars going on everywhere and airstrikes happening. So, let us welcome in the new year coming up and talk about what's happening. So,
Well, let's also talk about the Pod TV has its bookstore that's open, as you notice, and you can go to podtv.tv and the store's open. We have over 100 books. We don't have Adam's book in yet, but I understand
You
he's
should.
also a very famous author.
oh yeah, we do.
Um,
We have Adam's book in there.
Well, I've
So
written
there's
6
some-
books. You should have all 6.
He's got that's what I'm saying. This guy's a prolific author and writer. You can't appreciate this guy writes like crazy on all the constitutional issues in the world.
Thank
and
you,
they're
Nick.
buried in academic journals because only academics read them. No one else really
Right.
cares about them.
They're really good books.
Something, and they all fight.
Educational.
Okay, people don't understand it. They fight tooth and nail on which academic journal they're in, and no one gives a rat's rear in the real world except them. And so
Right.
Adam fights in that lane, and I saw his resume. He had like stacks of stuff he's written on constitutional law issues, and I'm going like, that guy's incredible, and but not appreciated, because what you have to do is take them all and put them in a book and make it really dummied down for the average American, which is a dummy, and most of them don't watch our shows. So our shows are like way above the average person, so I wouldn't say they watch it.
Thanks so
Smart
much,
people do
Nick.
watch it. Yeah,
And I just want to say,
yeah, go on.
I forgot to acknowledge former Justice Antonin Scalia, the best justice on the Supreme Court. And I hope he's in heaven right now, looking down and at peace as we enjoy the holidays.
He's dead. So the thing is, I didn't come to praise Caesar. I came to bury him. So he's dead. Now, your infatuation with Vladimir Putin is a little nutty, but that's okay, because usually high-level scholars are nutty, and they have a right to be a little nutty with guys like Putin. I'm surprised you don't love Navalny. But then again, he's on ice right now, from what I understand, like literally. He's in the Arctic Circle somewhere in prison for 30 years for opening up his mouth against the regime of Vladimir Putin, your best buddy. But that's good news for you, Adam, because once Russia and China take over, they'll elevate you, and they may not put you in the Arctic Circle, which they put people that they don't like. Now, Sasha, on the other hand, is in deep trouble. Sasha will end up either in Antarctica or in the Arctic Circle, or frankly, he's got to be pushing for Ukraine to win that war, because they do watch this show. They which I found out. Oh, by the way, I did the research on last year. We had 20,000 Russians watch our show last year.
Thank you. That's wonderful news. And Mr. Putin, I hope that you will one day appear on this show, because what you've done for Russia And my mother and I want you to know, will be
Name one thing he's
traveling
done
to
for Russia.
Moscow
I've
next
been to
summer, and
Russia.
we cannot wait.
Sasha's been to Russia. You haven't probably even been to Russia, but two of us have been. So here's the question, Adam, and I know you love Russia so much. Name one thing that Putin did for Russia.
What has Putin done for Russia? Putin is a nationalist. Putin is protecting their borders and their country, and the citizens of Russia love their country. Watch the Russian national anthem. Now, people stand for it. Russia is an intelligent culture. So is
Did he
Ukraine.
build a stadium? Did he build a bridge?
Sorry?
Did he build trains like Xi did all over China? Did he build a skyscraper?
Putin is protecting Russia from the impermissible and immoral expansion of NATO. Okay? NATO is a disgrace, and the United States is a disgrace for expanding too much eastward, and Putin put a stop to it. And I want to wish him happy holidays and happy birthday. And I look forward to meeting him one day and to going to Russia and celebrating Russian culture.
Well, I've been to Russia. They have nice.
I also want to say about the Ukrainians, though. The Ukrainians are great people, too. The Ukrainians are great, intelligent people, too.
Catherine the Great. The nice artwork in the Hermitage. Catherine the Great. Peter the Great. Putin, not so great. You can't name one building he built. You can name not one train he made, one airplane that flies better, because not like Xi, who actually did put in some really high-speed trains, put in some great buildings in Shanghai. He built the country, made China great again, fastest GDP. Putin, on the other hand, as much as you love him, did nothing. Okay, except suck money out of the economy into wars in Crimea, wars in Ukraine, wars in Afghanistan, all of them, which he lost or is losing. So if you look at his record, there's just anything there. I mean, Putin, you might as well.
Have you asked the Russian people what they think of Vladimir Putin? Have you asked the Russian people? I think they would disagree with you.
Well, of course they would, because the thing is, he did one thing, which you didn't mention. He changed the media, so it's totally controlled by him. And every day they go on me and say, "Worship me."
Oh, you mean like in the United States, where it's controlled by CNN and MSNBC? It's no different. Putin is protecting his country. He's a nationalist. People love him, and NATO is not going to expand and have its democratic forces come anywhere near Russia's border. I applaud Mr. Putin, but I also applaud the Ukrainians, who are also good people. We want to have a peaceful resolution to this so that both can coexist and move forward.
Hey, but you're right, Adam. Of course they love him, because people that hate them are imprisoned in the Arctic or they're dead. So the thing is, anybody who hates Putin has to leave the country. That's why Sasha's in Canada. Anybody who has Putin gets and stays in the USSR or whatever it is, Russia, goes into the Arctic Circle like Navalny. And everybody else like Kasparov, world champion in chess, gets
So you mean like in the United States, where if you get out of line in the United States, like Trump, you get 4 indictments against you, and you get a Colorado Supreme Court saying he can't be on the ballot. We're doing the exact same nefarious things as Russia. It's just in different clothing. It's not
I would agree.
I would like to hear from you.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you
Thank you.
if Biden announced that
Not
he's the
disrespectful
president.
to Mr.
again.
Putin,
Biden's
I'll
not
tell
gonna
you.
do that.
It's not disrespectful. I was just looking for one thing he's done.
I've already said one thing he's done. He's pushing back NATO and the eastern expansion of democracy, which in and of itself is not a good thing. And you want to talk about oppression? Look what's happening to Trump with the indictments against him in the Colorado Supreme Court decision. It's a joke. Okay, we're just as bad when you get out of line. When I go to Russia, I won't get out of line. I'll support the regime. My mother will too. I hope to get a tour of the Kremlin.
I can't go again until Putin's gone, because the things he probably sees he'll see these videos, 20,000 people, and they'll arrest him.
But I agree with most of what you say, Nick.
Okay, but let me tell you about NATO. NATO was not in Sweden and Finland. They were not until Vlad, and this shows you how bad of a leader he is, pushed them to join NATO. So think about it. He had NATO under his thumb and he lost it. So Putin, why these people would support him. Now, there's one person running against him. I'm not sure if this lady is going to be alive by the time March comes around when they have the election, a good chance that she'll either be in prison or dead, but we'll have to see. Because remember, he had this other guy. Remember the Wagner Group? Remember the guy who headed the Wagner Group? How's he doing?
I also remember John F. Kennedy getting shot in the head in Dealey Plaza. Reminds me a little bit of what you're talking about.
The United States, counselor, stay on point. We're talking about Russia, okay? And we're talking about the head of the Wagner Group, Shogorgan, whatever his name is.
Prigozhin.
How is he doing today, counselor? Can you answer the question? How is he doing? Do you know? He's the head of the Wagner Group. You don't know. So here you're talking about how great Putin is, how great Russia is. You don't know what happened to the head of the Wagner Group that happened last.
I don't care.
Months. You don't care.
I don't.
So
care.
I'll have to go to Sasha because Sasha may know a little bit more than you do.
So you guys try to have these gotcha moments with me, right? You try to ask me a question. I don't know the answer to undermine my argument. And my argument is Russia was 100% right to invade Ukraine because of what NATO did with its eastern expansion. But Ukraine is a wonderful country, and we want to also ensure that there is a peaceful coexistence between the two. I'm not going to sit here and vilify Russia, and the U.S. has no moral superiority over Russia, Iraq, Iran, or any other country.
You can do whatever makes you happy. But I want to ask Sasha a question. Sasha, because you may know, in the last 6 months, the head of the Wagner Group, one of the largest military groups in Ukraine, fighting for Russia, what happened to the head of the Wagner Group? What was his name and what happened?
Mr. Prigozhin, in fact, was able to make a almost resurrection against Vladimir Putin. And they were just about 150 miles away from Moscow. By the way, they were pursued by military plane and helicopters and other arms carriers. And Prigozhin was able to shoot down helicopters and one warplane. They killed in total well over 20 people, 22, 23, nobody knows exactly. And Putin was in hiding about 100 miles east of Moscow.
That is so sad.
That is very sad. What happened to this?
It's very rude.
That man deserves a Nobel Peace Prize.
My Lord. Sasha, what happened to this Pajorgan guy, this guy who was fighting for Russia? Where is he now?
Well, there are still people believe that he's somewhere in Africa or South America or somewhere else, but most likely he's now meeting our ruler upstairs.
You mean
so
he's
he was
dead?
killed.
He's dead? How did that happen?
He's dead. Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, the plane which he was riding was shot down by Russian rocket, a missile, which completely destroyed the plane.
Yeah, the lesson being don't get out of line and you won't be harmed.
Yes.
Respect the regime. Be a
Adam,
nationalist and you'll be fine.
Let me remind you something about regimes that you are worshipping.
I am in favor of a benevolent dictatorship. I am not in favor of democracy.
Okay, I've heard that. So that benevolent regime that you are dreaming about, they sent to death 330,000 Russians in less than 2 years. In 10 years in Afghanistan, Russians lost 15,000 people. And here in less than 2 years, they lost 330,000 people. Do you understand this size? Can you imagine 300,000 people? What is it?
Yes, that's about the amount that died in Iraq after that ridiculous war that moron George W. Bush waged based on false pretenses in Iraq. And I think we would agree with me on that one.
You have a guilty party. What's his name? Bush is a guilty party somewhere else. And poor Iranians or Iraq's people lost some million people, 5 million people, maybe billion people, who knows. But here, Putin himself initiated this war. He initiated and sent Russian soldiers, and they're dying every single day. Very seldom you have a day like yesterday. They lost 1,035 people. The day before that, they lost 1,040 people. There is very seldom a single day that Russian would lose less than 1,000 people. And it's going on. And now Ukraine now is using, because they didn't have enough ammunition from US, Europe, or so on. So they now complete different strategy that they're using. They are waiting for Russians to cross the line, and they are just killing. They're not taking prisoners.
Well, can I ask you a question?
As many people as they can. That's all. Yeah. Sure.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When the United States sent troops into Vietnam, into Iraq in the Second World War, thousands were dying. 300,000 Iraqis died. Tell me why what Putin did was wrong when NATO was encroaching on its borders. Tell me why they were wrong. What he's doing is trying to protect his country.
Okay, you are.
What would you have done differently? What would you have done differently?
Okay, listen to me, Adam. You see, what's the problem is that you are implying that Russia has some kind of a special rights to tell other nations like Ukraine what to do, when to do, what not to do, and so on, to dictate what they should do, whether they should join NATO or not to join NATO, whether they should join European Union or not to join European Union. Who is Russia to dictate to Ukraine what to do? Okay, there is a theory, a real politics, which you're familiar, I'm sure. So the strong and powerful country will dictate a small and not so powerful country what to do and how to do, and they have to oblige. They have to say, thank you very much, we are going to do this and this, we are going to prepare for you a coffee in the morning, we will dance something if you would like, or we will sing a song for you. Okay, what Ukraine did is very unorthodox. What they said, oh, you're large and powerful and strong, prove it. Defeat us if you can. Because if you can't defeat us, they're taking some kind of small village by the name of Avdiivka. They're fighting there now for 7 months. They cannot take the small village. So for Putin, he's not even playing a poker game. You know,
what would you have done if you were Putin? What would you have done differently? I would have attacked.
You would have
and you of all people say we should wipe out Hamas and annihilate them. What would you have done if you're Putin?
Adam, if you are to attack, you have to learn how many people Ukraine can put on front, what kind of ammunition, weapons, and everything what they have, and what they may have as a help from West, United States, or so. You have to really study this. Nobody in Russia wants to study anything. What they do, go fight. So people go and fight. Oh, people are being killed. Well, okay, so there's new people. It's like a meat grinder what's happening now in Ukraine. They are all ready and they shoot anyone that they can shoot, they do. They don't have to take prisoners, and they are killing Russian people daily, at least 1,000. Many days it's much more than 1,000.
What a tragedy.
They are destroying Russian tanks, Russian artillery groups, or so on. Russia, it's perceived as a very strong military power, and for many years it was, but not now, not anymore. They're not strong military power, and without that, they have to restrain themselves. Maybe allow Ukraine to join NATO, maybe allow Ukraine to join European Union, and maybe learn from Ukraine if they will have a positive experience.
No, because Russia is weaker, they cannot allow the NATO eastward expansion, and that's why Putin invaded. NATO is to blame for this, and so is the West.
Adam. But you see, okay, everything what you're saying, maybe it was right.
I understand your points. I do.
Maybe, but I'm not even sure about that. But today, it's not valid. Russia is just too weak from military point of view, financial point of view, technological point of view, just anything. It's so much backward country, and Putin exposed all that, because before the war, it would be a perception, oh, Russia is okay, yeah.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's why they have to
how
defend
can you
themselves
justify
from expansion.
what Putin just did? He destroyed Russia, its image, everything is down, and your admiration.
I think it's too early to tell that. If I was Putin, I would have done the exact same thing, and I think you would have done the exact same thing too.
No,
if they're so weak, then they have to defend themselves when there's an eastward expansion on their borders to make them even weaker.
But they cannot deal with the little Ukrainian village for 7 months. What are you talking about, NATO? What is that?
I get that. I understand that, and I agree with you.
So okay,
but
now it's the time. Now it's a time to get out of this and at least save something what's possible to save.
Yeah,
what has to happen? They have to stop that. They cannot win the war against Ukraine.
But they've made their point. But they've made their point.
It's horrible. It's horrible point.
But their point is we're not going to let you join NATO and encroach on our borders. But yeah, I agree with you. There should be an agreement. You're right.
The war is not over. Remember, the war is not over. Putin now wants to end the war with some kind of agreement. He will keep 20% of Ukrainian territory, if not maybe 10%, 15%, something. He wants to show to his people that
was his objective the whole time.
But that's not going to happen because, okay, Ukraine made a new law about several months ago. The law is that absolutely no negotiations of any kind with Russia until Putin is at power. Okay, so there is not possible even to talk about let's make it some peace, or let's take a break for 2 months. There is no possible. There is no basis of negotiations. And
Sasha, what if there was an agreement that they don't join NATO? Ukraine doesn't join NATO,
and
would that help? I mean,
it's up to Ukraine
because we can be pro-Ukrainian and pro-Russia at the same time. So how about an agreement where Ukraine agrees not to apply for membership in NATO? What do you think?
You are still playing the card that Russia is a very important, powerful country, and we have to think about its interests and so on. My position, though, is that it's not true. It's not objective, period. Russia is a very weak country. It's a backward country. Russia doesn't bring to the world nothing except weapons, death, prostitution, and vodka.
And why did that happen? Why did Russia decline in power from 1990 when Gorbachev and Reagan were meeting, when Yeltsin and Clinton? Why did Russia decline so much? They declined so much in part due to the West and ultimately due to NATO. And NATO is the problem. And I don't know why you don't see that, because you have valid points. You have very valid points. And we should support Ukraine, and we should support Russia too. But the question is, how do we do that? By stopping Ukraine from joining NATO and the encroachment on their eastern border.
Look, Ukraine has aspirations to join NATO. Whether NATO will agree to take Ukraine in, it still remains to be a question. Because there are some countries like Hungary, for example, who said several times that they're against Ukraine joining NATO, and they're against Ukraine joining European Union. So it could be so, but it's not Russia who will decide whether it's happened or not. It's going to be Ukraine and NATO. Ukraine wants to become a member of NATO. If NATO will accept it, that's one deal. If NATO will not,
then Russia should attack them again. That is unacceptable.
Russia is attacking Ukraine already almost 2 years.
Ukraine is Russia's Cuba.
Ukraine will defeat Russia. You don't understand that there's a lot.
No, you're right about that. I do.
There are a lot of women in Russia, the mothers, the wives of people who were killed, and we are talking about 100,000 people. It's just too much.
Yeah, the amount of
It's
people that died in the fake Iraq war that we waged under George W. Bush.
Well,
But-
and now we're under attack with
Horrible.
Iraq again. As of
You make
Christmas
valid
Day.
points. I respect your view.
But we're
Adam,
under attack again with Iraq,
very
and we
intelligent,
did
and I
airstrikes on East Christmas, and here we are. You know, there's war going on everywhere. The conflicts are popping up everywhere. You know, how are we going to put an end to this? How are we going to stop it? We don't need to be fighting anymore or fighting amongst ourselves about it anymore. What we need to do is start saving lives. You know, we need to start saying, stop, enough's enough.
Who is
Sit
it?
Well,
down.
if we want to save lives, maybe we should outlaw abortion.
You know what? Then do it the right way and allow women who need abortions the opportunity to have them, because right now they're not. And you know what? That's medically invasive, and that's HIPAA violations, huge HIPAA violations. They're violating HIPAA laws in every state with that. And you know what? You can't prove that. Okay, you want to save lives? You really want to save lives? What about the 24 million children that are being abused and killed every day? Why don't you do something about that before you start banning abortion? Because when
abortion is killing millions of babies
if
every
you
year.
force those women to have babies, who's taking care of them? Y'all only care about the babies before they're born. You don't give a damn about them afterwards. So why don't you do something about that? But why don't we talk about peace around the world? Okay. Why don't we start setting some examples instead of sending off missiles again? And you know what? We shouldn't be over in somebody else's business. You know, leave Iraq alone. Just walk away. Just let it be. Let all of these countries be. Stay in our own borders.
I agree.
You know what? Everybody stay in your own borders, in your own room. Go to your rooms. Go to your rooms. If you know, that's what needs to happen. Everyone go to your own borders and stay. Get down on your knees and pray to whatever God you pray to and ask him for forgiveness and to bring peace. That's what needs to happen. But
And
you
we
know
need
what?
to be
We
banning
have airstrikes on Christmas Day. Come on, people. Come on. You know, what has happened to our world? It's sad. It's sad. And you know what? I don't believe abortions, Adam.
What's happened
But
to
I
our world?
think forcing babies into this world that are not taken care of either. And that's
Okay,
what
well,
happened.
what's happened to this world is that people do not respect diversity and a diverse perspective that everyone has. You need to be able to disagree with people and be civil. You need to respect people of different backgrounds and cultures and understand people have different points of view, but that we're united by the values of freedom, of liberty, of freedom of expression. And those common values not here. And as far as saving lives, you want to save lives? Outlaw abortion. And while you're at it, outlaw contraception and tell people, you know what? Don't have sex until you're married in your late 20s, because you should focus on getting an education, learning how to succeed in the real world, then getting a job. And then when you're financially stable, then you can be in a marriage where a two-parent family, straight or gay, will provide the most stable home for a child. And that's going to lead to a stable society and a robust middle class.
I got a better idea. Snip the baby
and
maker.
Jacoby, I know, agrees with me.
No.
Snip the baby maker when they're born and then reverse it when they're old enough and mature enough to take care of children.
This country is beset by sex.
Yeah.
Everything you said is antithetical to freedom.
Oh, really? You mean freedom as you define it?
No, freedom. You said when you start off saying ban a person's choice,
that's right.
Choice is freedom.
Do you have a choice to do heroin today? Do you have a choice to do cocaine? Do you have a choice to kill somebody? Do you have a choice to overdose somebody on morphine in a hospital to end their suffering? No. There's a balance between freedom and responsibility.
Incorrect.
You have a
Incorrect.
choice
really?
to do those things.
Well,
You have
Okay.
a choice to do every one of those things you said. There are consequences that come with that.
yeah, they're outlawed by
Difference.
law.
Again, there's a difference between saying, okay, you cannot choose your medical procedure. The government will choose your medical procedure. That's what you're asking for. And here's a question, Adam. Do you believe
I didn't
that
say
the
that. You
government-
did.
No, you just said that. Now,
No, I
do
said
you
we should
believe-
ban abortion.
No, Adam.
That's
You
the government
literally
making a
said-
choice for me.
When you are banning
That's not my
a
freedom.
medical procedure, you are saying that the government has a better idea on the medical procedure than the individual who has to make that decision.
That's exactly
Right?
what I'm saying. When the government bans you
So
from doing
again,
heroin
you are
or from
saying that the
overdosing your
government
grandfather on morphine to kill
you
him,
are saying that the government should
should ban
decide
alcohol.
medical
Yeah.
procedures for people.
yes.
So instead of freedom, you are saying that the government
So you're
decides.
saying with all the morons in this country that they should be allowed to
I'm just
decide?
saying,
Forget
you
it.
literally-
I trust the
you
government.
literally-
I believe in good
literally-
government. You should too. I'm not allowing
So-
the weed smoking jock in high school to make any decisions about anything.
So again,
You, I would allow because you're smart and you're very
What I
qualified. But other
pointed
people,
out
no.
at the beginning of this, saying that you are against freedom, you said no. That's not what I'm saying.
against too much freedom.
No, you're against freedom. You literally just argued that, hey, the government should decide. That's
So the government
authoritarian.
conditions
Hence the
federal
reason why
funds
you're channeling Putin.
on
I
certain
see now.
conditions.
I'm putting it all
They're
together.
valid. And I don't believe. Do you really think that morons should have the freedom to decide what medical procedures they should have?
It's not my
I don't
choice.
you really believe morons and racists should vote?
It's
If you
not
do,
my-
then I'm sorry, we have a disagreement.
Again.
I'll fly right now to Moscow, right now, because I'm not living in that society. When you have morons
Here.
voting, members of the KKK voting, racist,
Again.
sexist, transphobic jerks voting,
Again.
and people deciding whether they should have an abortion, it should be outlawed. We should trust experts
Well,
Again.
and the
So I'm
government,
gonna
and that's
just-
what
Cannot
is the way to go.
freedom and then
Women-
beg for the government
Women's
to
lives
decide
have been
for
put
you.
at risk this year, right? Jatonio,
So I'm
women's
surprised
lives
you have
been
this
put
view
at
because
risk.
I would have thought that you would have believed in
And
government
the only
regulation
people,
of
the
free
only
markets
people
and-
this abortion stuff affect are the poor people because those women don't have the money if they need an abortion to cross the lines to get an abortion.
well, then
so
maybe
it
they
can
should have
benefit
not
them
had
and
sex in
their
the
babies.
first place without a condom or without
Well,
birth control.
I'm talking
You
about
So-
Adam. I'm
judgment.
talking about women who are married, have
Adam.
other children, and then they get sick while pregnant, and the doctors won't touch them in that state because they're scared of the freaking government laws.
Hold on.
So the
Kim, you-
women are suffering. They're at risk. The baby's at risk.
How
and the
about
doctors
this?
won't touch them. So
Well,
they have to
you
leave
are
this
100% right, Kim.
Adam,
You're
Adam,
right,
They
Kim.
have
In
to
that
leave the
situation,
state. And you know what,
Here's-
Adam? It is 100% a HIPAA violation for the government to butt in on something.
no,
like
you're
this.
right.
None
You're
of
right
their
there, Kim.
dang
and then Adam,
business is none of their business.
You're
Whether
right.
a
So
woman
come on.
has a
Adam.
baby or not. It's none of their business. None.
exactly.
Yeah, but maybe
And
the
Adam,
woman should
here's
think
another
about
thing.
not having
I tell you
sex or
what, it's
using
their
protection
business
before they
when
get
that
pregnant.
baby's
Adam.
born.
Adam, the
Oh,
idea that
boy, you guys really
the idea that you're pressing.
people running around having
Well,
unprotected sex.
women-
Oh, they should have a choice to kill a
Hold
child.
on,
Well,
Adam,
maybe they should
Adam,
have
hold
more
on.
responsibility.
Well, I'll
Adam,
tell you
Adam,
what, you
hold
would
on.
prefer everyone being killed after they're born,
Yeah,
right?
Adam, here's a question.
Oh,
Adam,
that's real. That's a
Adam.
low blow. Okay, all right.
Adam,
But
Adam,
it's
here's a
true.
question for you then, because
You would
you're
rather
under
than be
some
killed after they're
assumption.
born. War.
You're under some assumption that women flippantly make a decision about their medical procedures and that you
That's right.
have some enlightened view, which are you saying that you and men are smarter than women in their own medical
No,
decisions?
not in the least.
Then why
I'm saying
not
to
allow
the women out
No,
there
no,
and
no,
to the
no,
men
wait,
out there,
wait.
especially the men,
Wait, you just said that you want
stop
the
having
government
sex.
to make you want the government to make the decision for women. You believe that because in your male perspective, you believe that the government, especially dominated by men, has a better idea on the medical procedure than women.
Look,
So
look, I'm
therefore,
not going to
you
respond
believe
to this
that
gendered
men are
approach that
smarter
you
than
have.
men.
That somehow
But
my
women,
perspective is because I'm a male. I want to protect life, and I am against destroying life. And for those people who have abortions, maybe they should think, go to
here's the funny
Walgreens and
thing.
buy a condom,
Here's
or
the
maybe
funny
don't
thing.
have sex. Don't let
Here's the
passion
funny
get
thing.
the best of you. Okay,
You keep saying this. You keep putting that out
morons
there
in
as
the
if
country.
you keep putting that out there as if that's some flippant thing again, that women just go out and have sex. What about the men that
Yes,
are
they do,
raping
and so do
abusing
men.
women? What about
Men
men
are
that are
still
raping and abusing women? What
Well,
about that?
then we need to
What
clip
about
the
the
men's when
children
they're
who are
born.
getting
They just, that
impregnated
needs to
by
be a
men?
women should have
procedure.
a right to abortion if they're raped. They should have a right to an abortion if their
Oh,
health
wait
is
a
in
second.
They
danger.
Wait a
don't do
second.
that, Adam. They're
No,
not
hold on.
doing that. The
Adam,
laws
Adam,
made it, the laws are too strict.
Adam, here's a
Laws are too
question now.
Sasha,
To touch on that, Adam, to touch on that.
Laws are too strict.
Now you're saying that you're okay with abortion if you're saying that women have the right to choose if they're raped.
They should
So
just
now
be
you're
born.
negotiating. Now you're
yes,
saying
that's
that you're
exactly what I'm
okay with,
doing. That's exactly
you're
right.
okay with particular things. So here,
Right.
how about a better idea? How about a better idea? Because you don't know every woman's situation because you are not there. How about let the woman decide?
How
Why
about let
can't
the
that be it?
doctor and the
No.
woman decide and the government butt
No.
out?
Why,
Butt out.
Adam?
In,
You
butt
just
out.
Why?
negotiated.
Butt
You
out.
just
Why?
negotiated.
Because of the
You're not
reason
there.
that my friend, when I was teaching at a college a few years ago, my
Let's
friend who
not get
said,
into
you know,
anecdotes because
I
that
got
doesn't-
drunk
that
and I had
doesn't
sex
help
with
us.
this guy. Now I'm pregnant, so I'm just going to abort the kid. If their health is in danger,
your
which you can
anecdote does not
objectively
help.
prove, otherwise,
Your
or if
anecdote
they're
doesn't help.
raped, I choose saving life, and I also want to listen to Sasha because I don't want to
So you're
dominate
gonna
discussion.
make
She'll be-
you're gonna make
I
the
have
guy.
respect for the point of view. I do. I really
I'll
do.
tell you what. So do we tax men more money for getting women pregnant and not owning
That
up
is
to
very
women
sexist. I and I don't like the sexism that has infused this show.
Oh,
Every time you
so-
attack my argument, it's because I'm a white male.
Sexism.
Get lost. Sasha,
I
what do
didn't
you have
say
to say?
because you're a white
Yes,
male.
you
I
did.
didn't say that.
Hold on, Adam.
I said we should just tax all men then.
Adam,
We are dumbing down our society. Don't you see it? We are dying from the inside because of stupidity and a lack of
That's
responsibility.
That's true, Adam, but you called it sexist.
We don't have a million
when
Jatovis. We
there
only have
was a
one.
decision. Wait, you called it sexist when there's a decision for men to have to do something, but you don't call it sexist when you want to force women to do something. Find that odd. Sasha, take it away.
Why? Because we're also affecting men by saying they have to be fathers.
Hold on. It's not affecting men. Do you know who has when a
yes,
pregnancy happens, whose life is in danger? Is it the man's or is it the woman's? Thank you. We're done
When
here.
a pregnancy
Sasha, take it away.
happens, not every woman is in danger. When a
Hold
woman's
on,
health
hold
is
on,
in
hold on.
danger, like the woman in
Adam,
Texas,
Adam,
she should have the right to an
Adam.
abortion.
Adam, think about it. Is it a fact that a woman's life is being challenged during pregnancy?
No.
It is.
Is it 100%?
No, it
Do
isn't.
women survive?
No, it
Does
isn't.
every woman survive
And you know
pregnancy?
what?
All right.
No,
By
Adam,
prohibiting abortion,
wait.
We're going to be
wait.
forcing men to be
Counsel,
fathers,
counsel,
which is what a lot of
counsel,
people
counsel,
need these days,
Counsel,
given that
you're missing
73% of black kids
Counsel,
grow up in single-parent
counselor,
families.
Counselor is when
Yes.
a woman has a child. Does every woman survive pregnancy? That's a yes or no.
No.
Thank you. So therefore, because there is a chance that a woman might not survive, that means a woman's life is in jeopardy during pregnancy.
There is an
Regardless of what you
objective
say
way
from
to
this
tell
point
which
on,
women
from
are
this
and which
point
women
on,
aren't.
you have
95%
lost your
aren't.
argument.
Do you
have
know
lost
how
the
many
argument.
women will start committing suicide because of this?
You know what?
Because they can't handle
Suicide
the
is a
pressure.
fucking choice.
And
Suicide is
everyone
a
says,
choice. Don't you
Adam,
guys
you
and
lost
everyone
the
knows it's
are
argument.
not.
victims out of so many people in this population.
Adam, again.
No,
So
and
if
you know,
it-
Adam, you're so wrong about when hormones become adjusted in women and they become so depressed. And you know, even with
I know we're
postpartum,
all victims. We don't have a choice. We
And
can't
that's not a
control.
victim. That is a
Oh,
chemical
please.
imbalance.
what's interesting, again, let's go back to where you jumped and got irate because you felt
Well, I'd like to hear from
that
Sasha.
you felt Kim was being sexist. Now,
Of course she was, and
because
so were you.
Kim pointed out
But I still like you,
about
though.
postpartum and the depression and the emotional struggles that many women go through. during
Boo-hoo.
pregnancy and so on and so forth.
Ooh, I had to teach at
And
Georgia
now-
College. My brother killed himself and jumped over a
now
bridge.
what's
I
interesting
had to
is
deal with a major medical illness.
how
Ooh.
little you show for concern or care. But then when she brought up the one thing you said it was sexist when it dealt with men, but when it deals with women, you have no issue condemning, calling them victims and everything else. So let's get
They're
back to
not
the
victims.
sexist thing that you were complaining about. You were actually proving yourself to be sexist by your argument from this point on.
Oh, I
Sasha,
know,
again,
I know.
take it away.
I'm a white male, so I must be racist too,
Sasha,
right?
again, take it away.
I
You
think we
lost
should
the argument.
focus on people have
Sasha,
choices in life
when-
and have
In the comment
responsibilities.
section, let's see
Men
what you
should be
said.
forced to be
It's
fathers,
hard-
and that's what an
it's very
abortion ban
hard
would
to
do.
defend a bad argument. You have a very bad argument, and the only thing that you keep doing is
Well,
going
what-
down the sexist path. Let's go back to Sasha.
Adam, I would like to offer you something very interesting. During your upcoming trip to Russia, just stop in any cities, Moscow, for example, Red Square is a good
Drones. Well, let's
And-
Sasha talk.
Listen, if in your upcoming trip to Moscow, I would challenge you to stop right in the center of the city, say Red Square will do nicely, and just stop any woman that who can speak English, or maybe you'll learn Russian a little bit, so you could ask very simple questions. How many abortions have you had so far in your life? So the average number will be 2 to 3. You will never meet even one. Well, maybe she's so horrible looking woman, so she says, I never had abortion in my life. Maybe, but Russian ladies are looking.
Well, maybe
very-
they should focus on their education instead of having sex.
You know, Adam, you make a point there. Why don't we do
These
free
young women
education?
having sex. What's going on over here?
So why don't we do a free education for all women
They
who
can't
don't
write a
have
paper, but they can
and,
lay
and
down and
don't
get
have
screwed by
babies,
10
and they
guys.
can get a free education for as long as they want. You know, kind of
I
like
remember-
a trust.
That's
I
what
remember
happens in
when-
Singapore, where you have a
I-
beautiful, benevolent dictatorship.
I
years
love
ago,
that idea. You know
I
what?
was
A
in-
free education
Me
for
too.
every woman who chooses not to have sex and have babies. Or if you have sex, just be very, very careful. But if you
You know,
don't get
Kim,
pregnant,
you
get
women
free
are joining the
education.
workforce at a rate
Love
higher
it.
than men. You're getting leadership positions at a rate higher than men. This sexism, racism narrative is nonsense. You sound like Claudine Gay from Harvard, whose ass should be out right now, just like the president of Penn. Because what's happening in this country is that you're engaging in identity politics where you're not looking at the individual. Instead, you're making excuses and making people victims.
But
and
you're
putting
not
people
looking
to
at
group.
the individual either when you're saying that all women shouldn't have abortion.
I'm against abortion.
So am
You know
I,
what?
but I
Thinking
believe a
about
woman has a choice.
education. I was several years ago in Los
I'm
Angeles.
against abortion too,
And,
but I believe a
there
woman has a
were
choice.
a community around Naples Beach, I think, and there were several men who were having a T-shirt which would say "Sex Education. First lesson is free." So, if you're talking about sex education, I think certain parts of US it's available. Now, Adam, on a few shows back, maybe a few weeks ago, remember I asked you about if, and you said that should be absolutely no sex whatsoever. And I told you that in certain countries, like Germany, for example, the girls are making their dowry by being involved in prostitution. And your reply was, well, if it's prostitution, that's okay. So then
Yes.
my question was how you can be engaged in prostitution without sex. Is it possible at all?
Clinton did it.
Adam,
Who did it?
Clinton didn't have sex.
Clinton was pursued by Monica Lewinsky. He did not hit on her. She pursued him. And if you need any evidence of that, look at the blue dress.
It wasn't sex, though. Clinton didn't.
No, it was not sex. It was not sex. It was sexual relations.
What's the difference?
Wait a second. I don't know what the point is here because all I'm saying is that the Ben Poker Sasha is a responsible one with intelligent people who make good choices. Why are you having sex at 16 or 17 when you should be getting an education? The most successful countries have smart, responsible citizens who make good choices.
You go. If you don't get pregnant, you don't get girls pregnant, and you don't get pregnant, you get a free education.
Adam, you know what's happened in Russia with sex and abortions? Since the beginning of the war with
Keep
Ukraine,
your pickle in your pocket.
There were severe.
Well, that's very crude.
West
That's a policy.
sanctions
No, that's
against
not
Russia. And under these sanctions, the condoms, which normal for a Western society, they were no longer available in Russia. So they produce some kind of horrible condoms, which next to impossible to use. And of course, you get a lot of pregnancies and hence a lot of abortions. Because Russian girls are not stupid. If they get pregnant, they immediately do abortion ASAP. They don't carry the child. They know.
How disgusting.
Wars. It's disgusting. You know, the Russian population is losing enormous percent every year. And especially the last 2 years were horrible. And the next year will be even more horrible. Adam, so you have to hurry up, actually, to get to Moscow to see some people there. Because you may not even see any people. If you
Some of the other things that I'm very concerned about is the consumption of power, and that we've had an atrocious amount of power outages. And Duke, even admitted last year that they didn't have enough resources to provide us power. They use every excuse possible, but our government is not doing their job to sustain us and take care of us. And we're having that problem again this year. And of course, they're using every excuse. Next year, we'll find out it's because there wasn't enough resources. So I think that our government needs to reel in some of the things that they're doing. I think we need to, like you said, stop thinking about sex and start thinking about the problems that we're having and get on track and fix this country. We need to pull ourselves in, put ourselves into a bubble and quit involving ourselves in other countries. Why did we do an airstrike? We need to reel in and look at ourselves and take care of ourselves. Russia needs to reel it in, take a look at themselves and take care of themselves. Ukraine, everyone needs to just go to their room and take a look at what they're doing and take care of themselves.
And I want to apologize. I want to apologize to the Duke lacrosse players that were falsely accused by the left-wing woke Duke administration. Just like Harvard, just like UPenn. They were asked by Elise Stefanik.
Oh, it wasn't rape. That's right. They were having a party.
Education.
Hey Adam, really quickly. I just popped that. Hey Adam, I just popped in really quickly and everything.
The average citizen in Russia is
the
average moron called an American.
Hey Adam, just really quickly.
Because there were, sports guys, right? Athletes. But they
were
hosting a party they
accused of
shouldn't
rape.
have having
Just
anyway.
like I was falsely accused of sexual
Nobody
harassment.
ever got arrested for being drunk, under the substance, anything.
Because women lie sometimes.
She wanted to sex with all of those guys. Maybe she didn't. But you know what? She was strong enough to stand up and do something about
She
it.
stood up for nothing. She lied. They were victims of false allegations. And I apologize to them, just
What
like
was
you to Mr.
false?
Putin. He's had to
Hey,
go
Why
Adam.
through the
was
letter.
he arrested for being
Hey, Adam.
drunk?
Hold on a second, Adam. I got a quick question for you and everything.
Why
Because you
were they
said
looked
several,
down upon
you
for
said several
having
times
sex
that
with
the
all those guys having sex with one girl? What's wrong with
no,
them?
but hold
Can
on
they
a
go
second,
out and get
because
their own girl? What's the
yeah,
matter?
but that's what I was going to ask
Or
Adam.
maybe
Because
the
Adam,
girl wanted to have sex with all of them, but it turns out they were all exonerated. So I
Pathetic
guess she was wrong.
men.
Just like the
Pathetic
girl who
sport.
accused me of sexual harassment at my
Pathetic.
job was ultimately proven wrong and to have lied after months and months of hell that I had to go through.
Point out, just
Well,
to
and I
point out,
understand you went through wrongful accusations.
Yes, I
but
did.
You weren't drunk. You weren't drunk. You weren't disorderly. You were not having an unlawful party. You know, and I don't know what else went on, but yeah, you were wrong. But these guys, they were drunk. They shouldn't have been. They're underage. They were under the substance, and they were all having sex with one girl. You know what? That's pretty pathetic. That's disgusting.
When I was
And if that's
nothing.
the best they can do with their life, I hope no one ever employs them.
But did they
But
rape
should
her?
have all been
The answer is
banned off
no.
the lacrosse team for being pathetic.
They did not
and they
rape
all
her.
should have been
They
arrested
lied.
for being drunk. You know what? I had a friend. She rode horses for the high Ivy League teams. She had a beer after winning one night, a beer, and they arrested her and took her scholarship away. One freaking beer. These guys were smashing drunk and all had sex with one girl, a prostitute. That should have been illegal. Oh no, that wasn't illegal. No, they're
What
boys.
should have been
They
illegal?
will be men
The
and
fact that
boys
they had
will be
consensual
boys.
sex?
Girls are their toys. There you
but
go.
Adam, hold on a second, because that's what I was here to ask you earlier, Adam, because you stated earlier about the women and what they needed to do. But isn't that a two-way street? Don't men need to do stuff as well?
Vaccine.
Men need to reel it in. But those
You know
guys
that
should have been
ineffective
arrested for
COVID
everything
vaccine.
else.
Mhm. Go
They
ahead. I'm
should
sorry,
have been
Mark.
arrested.
No, I was asking you, isn't it a two-way street? Because you were talking about the women and they're being at fault, but are the men at fault sometimes too?
Yes, absolutely. Often men
It's
are
funny.
more of a disgrace than women.
And I
But you
think
have
that
so
that
much to say
lacrosse
about
team
That was
was a
women,
Kim's
though.
point.
huge disgrace. Huge.
But
Yes.
you have so much to say about women, but you only have one sentence to say
I
about
don't have
women?
so much to say about women. I have a lot to say about unborn life that I want to protect. And I'm sorry, that's not gendered. We should be
If
forcing
you-
people to be
Here's a
fathers,
fact.
raising
Here's
kids
a
in
fact.
two-parent families, and emphasizing
Just
education
a fact.
and leaving sex for later and for marriage.
Just to point out a
I don't
fact.
want that jerk who got me pregnant being a father to this child because he doesn't know how to make a living, and now I'm going to have to take care of both of them.
Well, then don't have sex in the first place.
Just to point out a fact of life, that access to contraception cuts
everybody
down
can
on abortion
control
more
it.
so than anything. Also, nobody is pro-abortion. Everybody is either you're wanting to allow women to make their own medical
Oh,
decisions,
please.
you think that you're smarter than women. That's really what
No.
it is.
I want to protect unborn life.
No, it's a religious thing. He wants.
It is.
Oh, it's a
It's-
religious
it's a
thing. So
religious
you guys are so condescending. You do the same thing you accuse me of. You're so judgmental and condescending.
It's religious.
I don't want to kill unborn life.
All
Who
right,
does?
so you want
Religious.
them killed after. You don't give a damn about them after they're born, do you?
So-
I give a damn about both. And so
No,
does
you don't.
Jacoby.
So what's
And
going
Jacoby
to happen to
agrees
them
with me.
after they're born?
Adam,
What's gonna
you
happen?
keep saying that, oh, you don't. Why do you think people who want to make their own medical decisions want to kill life?
It's not a medical decision, Jacoby.
It is.
Give me a break.
It's
This is not a
legitimate
decision about whether to
medical
get chemo or not, whether
No,
to
no,
get your
no.
leg
It's a
amputated,
legitimate-
whether to.
and
It's a
I like
decision to
how you're
terminate the life
deflecting.
because of
You're
irresponsibility
deflecting-
in
you're
90% of the
deflecting. You're deflecting. Again, why do you assume? Why do you
I
assume?
feel like a
He's
boomerang.
an attorney.
individual-
Remember that. Nick deflects by leaving.
Why do you assume?
No, I'm not
that
an attorney.
individuals-
I'm an outstanding attorney. We have to put the adjective before attorney, but go on.
Okay. Why do you assume, counsel, that individuals who want to make their own medical decisions with their doctors want to kill life?
Because that's precisely what they're doing.
Why do you think they want to?
I'm not saying
You're
that they
expressing-
want to. I'm saying they're making a
You
choice to
literally
terminate a life.
said you literally said that you want to protect life, stating that they don't want to.
That's correct. That's correct. But
So
what I
again,
was
that's-
trying to clarify is that I don't equate them as like intentionally murdering somebody, like a first degree murderer, of course, but they are terminating a life, and I think that's wrong. And you know what? But that's not my point. I'm trying to make. You guys
hold
are
on,
missing the
you've
point.
already nego-
My
but
point
the
is,
thing
young
is,
people
Adam,
get a damn education, stop having sex,
before-
get financially
before you
stable,
even-
then get married, then have
before you-
sex. We'll have a better middle class in
before you
society.
start throwing
In other words, a
spaghetti
rule by
against the wall,
intellectuals.
before you start throwing spaghetti against the wall to get off this, because you keep
I'm
saying that
Italian.
you
I
want-
love spaghetti.
again, you said that you want to protect life, and they
Yeah, I protect you.
are choosing. Hold on. Earlier, we negotiated. You said that you were okay with abortions in particular cases. Therefore, you
Yes.
are okay with abortions too.
Yes, in particular cases, I am.
So then, this is getting back to the point. You stated that you are okay with particular situations that you are comfortable with. You are not in that woman's life. Not at all. So how is it that you get to define what every woman has to adhere to make you feel comfortable?
Because I'm okay with murdering somebody when it's in
I'm not asking that.
self-defense. I am
no,
not
no, no, no,
okay
no.
with intentionally
No,
murdering
listen to what I'm
somebody else.
asking.
That's the
Listen
analogy.
to what I'm asking.
There's context-dependent factors.
Listen to what I'm asking you. I'm
I
asking
did
you.
listen.
No, you didn't, because you went
And
off
you,
on a
and
completely
you should
different
stop
thing.
insulting
Can
spaghetti
that
Listen
too.
to
divorce
what I'm
will be a
asking.
tax deduction? Can we go ahead? You know, see,
Why?
once the second they're conceived, can we list them on our taxes?
Yep.
There you go.
Oh, that's very
I am
rude.
asking
I'll tell you,
you.
that is very
No,
rude
it's
to a fetus.
not.
Adam, hold
No.
on.
That's how you talk about Vladimir Putin
The
too. It's very
state don't want
disgraceful.
to admit they're alive.
I mean,
and
this
then
world,
they
the way
go-
you have treated Russians and fetuses
Hold
is
on.
a disgrace.
Adam, listen to what I'm asking you. You are saying, because you are okay with abortion in particular cases, you were stating
Yes.
that women must choose their medical procedures or make their medical decisions to appease you and your sensitivities.
No,
Why should they do that?
You know, before long, they're
Because-
going to be handcuffing women to, you know, the beds.
let
at
me
the
make an
hospital.
analogy. I'll say it one more time.
I
If
don't
you
need
kill
an
somebody in
analogy.
self-defense, you're not
Don't
guilty.
need an
But
analogy.
if you murder somebody with no
You're
provocation,
going down
you
a
are.
road.
It's about
Why?
the context. They were raped or their health
Listen
was
to-
in danger.
You're running away from the question.
Hey
because
Adam and Kim, because I know we're getting ready to wind down very shortly. But one thing and I did see you, Sasha.
Let me get this out, Mark. Let me get this out, because he sees the chess move that I played, and he knows that he's in
You
checkmate.
didn't play a
at this
chess
moment.
move at all because there's an
No.
analogy in the
No.
criminal law that
Listen
says
to what I stated.
culpability is dependent on
Listen to what I
context.
stated, Adam.
I
Be
know
nice
I'm
to
listening.
Should women have to make their medical procedures to appease you?
You have a girlfriend.
No. No.
Why?
Who I think is from
Should-
Norway.
So again, should women have to run their
right.
medical procedures by you?
I'm here.
No.
So women should not have to run their medical
Yep.
procedures by you, or
Overnight.
you should not have to check
No.
off.
I know that's right.
Right. No.
So-
they shouldn't.
They shouldn't. They shouldn't. So when they're
No.
making their medical procedures or making their medical decisions, who should be there?
The doctor.
So should the doctor have to run and tell you what that medical procedure they're doing?
Nope.
Sasha, you see how I
Problem
like
is,
to play
abortion is not a medical procedure. I
So
dispute
now,
your premise.
no,
In case you didn't realize that.
Adam, you've already lost the game. We've already moved by this because again,
No,
you
I haven't
stated
lost
that the
anything.
women do
What
not
I've
have.
done
We've
is
already
I
stated.
said I'm against
Listen to what
abortion.
you stated. Listen to what you stated. Counsel, hold on. You stated that women do not have to run it by you. Doctors do not have to run it by you. So then a woman should be able to make her own decision with her and her doctor without you being included. That means that the government should not be involved.
Should you be allowed to have sex with your sister?
No.
Should you be allowed to have sex with your sister? I'm not saying you have a sister. I'm saying
Throwing
hypothetically.
spaghetti.
Should you be
Scientifically,
allowed to shoot
genetic-
up heroin?
Spaghetti,
Should you be
throwing
allowed to screw
spaghetti,
your
trying to
uncle?
make way.
Should you be
That's
allowed to have sex with a
scientifically-
5-year-old
Sasha,
child?
You know,
The answer is the government regulates so much, and abortion should be one of those things.
where they know they can't move their king.
No,
and all
so
they're
you want to
doing
do a
is
chess
moving
move?
under the
I
ropes
call checkmate on
everywhere
you
around the
because I
board.
just raised the
That's
very
what this
example
is.
you won't answer. Should you be allowed to have sex with a 5-year-old child?
How does that relate? Unless you're talking about how
I don't care what.
Hold on. How does that relate? The only way it relates is the fact that there have been cases where uncles,
Should you be allowed to have sex with a
fathers,
horse?
and other men have raped young children and gotten them pregnant. According
My
to
point
you,
is that the government
according
regulates
to you,
behavior
you
all
said
the
that you
time,
should be there to
whether
make that
it's
decision.
drugs, sex, or anything else. And they also
Drugs, sex,
regulate
that's wrong.
abortion,
That's
particularly by outlawing partial birth abortion. So the regulation doesn't mean you need my permission. It's a value judgment,
Counsel,
and
I
my
think-
values say it's wrong
I
to
think the
kill
jury is
unborn
not
children.
with you on this.
Well, like I said, we'll get
I
back
think
to
the
world
jury
politics.
will
I
be
know
hung
Kim's
on
going
this
to end
one.
everything.
No pun intended.
Yeah, Kim. Yeah, hold on a second. Kim's going to end
Anyway,
everything.
thank you everyone for watching us. This has been a seriously stir the pot debate. Have enjoyed it. It definitely got my blood boiling.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. And thank you everyone for being a good sport. Don't forget to help support us by shopping on our Pod TV store. We've got some great books. Adam's books will be added. I thought they were already there, but Adam has some books.
One book is already there, but I'll add the other 5 or 6. But there is one book that is already there.
There's
There
many.
you go. And everyone have a blessed week and we'll see you on Thursday.
До свидания.
До свидания, товарищ.
Blessed.
Thank you. I was